them of being corrupt, calling for disbandment of the SHA board. Meanwhile, interns under the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists, Dentists Union, who are also protesting, have called out the Ministry of Health for not disbursing the amount promised to resolve their 4-month pay delay.
Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, KUCO, today held protests outside Afya House, calling out the Social Health Authority Board for discriminating them and locking them out as service providers under SHIF.
Under NHIF, the clinical officers were allowed to register their facilities. But when Dr. Abdi and his team sat illegally against the SHA Act, against the Health Act, against the Clinical Officers Act, they decided they are not going to empanel and contract facilities by clinical officers. And this means that more than 6 million Kenyans cannot be able to access health services.
Claiming that the board is corrupt, they want the SHA board to be reconstituted.
Dr. Abdi Mohammed and his team must go home.
Your board is the highest ranked medical personnel, ambaye ni Director General. Hata yeye ameungana mkono kuvunja sheria. Kwa hivyo hatoshi kukaa katika hiyo ofisi.
Clinical officers no SHA. These have been the chants reigning these demos. They say they have been excluded as service providers, yet they run over 1,000 healthcare facilities.
98% of the ophthalmology and cataract surgeries are done by clinical officers. Majority of the ENT procedures are done by clinical officers. Most of the oncology services are done by clinical officers. For them to deliver that quality service, they must pre-authorize diagnostics, they must pre-authorize procedures.
They have now threatened to down their tools come 23rd this month if the government fails to heed to their demands. Meanwhile, interns from the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, also staged their protests. They lamented over 4 months' delayed salaries, yet the ministry had promised to pay their arrears an allocation of 965 million shillings. However, the amount is yet to reach their accounts.
And you know what we have been paid? We have been paid nothing for the 4 months. The ministry, which is full of PR, on Saturday the CS made a press conference saying she deposited and she has paid the interns in full. We want to tell you media houses, that that's not true.
Now Umicha reduced to 70,000, which was a stipend. Up to now, as we talk today, others have received that money, but like personal, it's like 33,000 in a month, which is wrong because we agreed to 70,000.
Meanwhile, Health Principal Secretary Mary Mudhoni defended the disbursement of 965 million shillings to intern doctors.
Our interns have been in the field without pay, and right now, the court has given us 90 days to have a conversation with them. And secondly, His Excellency the President set up a task force to look into all the issues regarding the interns. It is important to note that the government is committed. This week, we have released the intern stipend as set by the SRC. The court has directed that we are given 90 days to discuss whether to pay 206 or to pay 70.
They have also vowed to down their tools come 22nd December. Harriet Chimea, K24.
Now, religious leaders from Kakamega County have joined hands with members of the civil society to push back on what they term as threats and intimidation coming from senior government leaders. According to the group, the government is deflecting from real issues affecting Kenyans and instead diverted its attention to critics at the expense of service delivery. As Timothy Simwa reports, they want the National Assembly and President William Ruto to treat the issue constituting a functional electoral body a priority.
In a series of criticism against President William Ruto's administration, members of the clergy from Kakamega County joined with civil society groups other letters to give their piece of advice to the broad-based government.
Wameanza kutoa vitisho kwa Wakenya kwa jumla, sijui wanalenga nani. Wanatoa vitisho na hasa mno wale wafanyikazi wa umma ambao yafaa watoe huduma kwa wananchi wote bila ubaguzi, na wasiweze kujihusisha na siasa.
In their assessment, the Kenya Kwanza administration has simply perfected the art of deflecting from the real issues facing Kenyans, and instead
we challenge the leadership to come clean and tell wananchi whether these and other initiatives are just but PR exercises.
Further, they opine civil servants are already setting the country in a campaign mode when they have very little to show about development.
Ni mapema sana kuweza kufanya kampeni ya mapema na kuacha kufanya maendeleo. Tungependa waweze kujihusisha na yale ambayo waliakiza wananchi, kutekeleza sera zao ili tuweze kuwa na uchumi ulio sawa sawa.
Waonyeshe heshima katika mikutano ya hadhara. Hatutaki kuona mavurumai, maneno kutusiana, na wao ni viongozi, sisi tunataka kuiga mienendo yao. Mambo kama hayo inaonyesha picha mbaya.
The group, which brought together members of NCCK, KCCB and SUPKEM, has appealed to President William Ruto and the National Assembly to consider reconstituting Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission (IEBC) sooner.
Urge the President and Parliament to fast-track the reconstitution of the IEBC as well as other legal and constitutional reforms in preparation for 2027 general elections, and allow constituencies and wards that do not have representation to undertake their by-election.
At the same time, the group has also challenged the county government of Kakamega under Governor Fernandes Barasa to deliver on its mandate, which they feel has been abandoned for politics. Timothy Simwa, K24 TV.
All right, let's take this particular story. Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba has defended the government's decision to convert 348 boarding schools to day schools. Now appearing before the Senate's Education Committee, the CS said the boarding status for the affected schools will only be restored when they comply to government regulations. The Ministry of Education is expected to conduct a second round of assessment dormitory safety in all schools next year.
Barely a fortnight after the Education Ministry ordered conversion of 348 boarding schools to day schools, the Senate Education Committee invited Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba to shed the light over the matter.
Good morning, Chair.
CS Ogamba defended the decision, saying the government will remain firm until all schools comply to the required safety guidelines.
Particular individual school has a report of the discrepancy or the failures to meet the quality safety standard. So those ones who have already completed, they are being reopened. So, but there are others who, for example, had opened boarding sections without registration. They opened on their own. There is a school, they've opened, they're running a boarding section, and our teams are seeing that for the first time when they went to inspect, because they never applied for it. You see, so those ones had also to be now reassessed to confirm that they meet the standards.
The orders to convert the 348 boarding schools to day schools came following a national assessment of dormitory safety as per President William Ruto's directives. CS Ogamba indicating the ministry is set to conduct a second round of assessment next year.
Private schools that whose boarding sections were closed, there is a safety manual that each boarding school is supposed to adhere to, and this is the manual that was used to audit whether they met the requirements, and those ones that did not meet were the ones that were informed individually per report that if you do not rectify, you will not open in January as a boarding, you will continue running as a day school, because of the circumstances that we find ourselves in.
The ministry has refuted allegations that the assessment was not conducted in a proper manner, as alluded by some school heads who claimed that no audits had been done, yet they found themselves on the list.
This ministry. And some of them are complaining that they were just told to do one or two things. And the ministry never got back to them to see to it whether to confirm whether they had done that, whatever they were supposed to do or not. In fact, some of them are saying that nobody even communicated to them.
I am aware that some of the schools had maybe 1 or 2 or 3 issues that needed to be done, and some of them have rushed and they've done. And once they have done, they request our county quality assurance officers to revisit and give them clearance. What is critical is for us to know that our officers did not close any school on the boarding side that met the requirements. So the issues that have arisen are issues that have risen post the audit.
President William Ruto directed a national assessment of school safety in September following the tragic fire incident at Hillside Endarasha Academy in Nyeri. Martin Opio, K24 TV, Nairobi.
All right, we are due for another break here on K24 Evening Edition. We will be back in a few with more.
Mozart Casino Jackpot. Zungusha gurudumu la furaha. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet.